All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to another edition of our weekly Wednesday Lunch and Learn. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Pacific time, I have the opportunity to get to interview some of the top agents all across the country. And we get to learn about their story of how they got into real estate. We learn about what is actually happening with the local market in their region. And today we have Amy out of the Chicago market. It's our first guest from Chicago, so we're certainly very excited to learn about Chicago. I know a lot of people that tune into this channel may have traveled to Chicago at one point or another, and it's going to be a great opportunity to learn what's actually happening at the ground level. So, Amy, welcome to the show. Please
Thank
tell
you.
a little bit about yourself. Like, what did you do actually? Let's take it a step back. What did you do prior to real estate, and then how long have you been in the business for now?
Okay, so I studied actuarial science. So that's the science of like probability of probability of death and accidents. So you work with a lot of insurance companies. So I worked as a consultant for 3 years. I found out that I didn't like it, nor was I very good. So I was like interviewing, and my brother, who was a realtor and still is a realtor now, had said, "Why don't you get your real estate license? You may like it." So I got my real estate license as I was interviewing, and I was walking. I passed. I was walking back to my brother's office to, you hang your license. So I was about to give my brother my license. Somebody happened to walk in and say they wanted to sell their house. So my brother said, "You should do it." So I ended up selling the house. Like back 17 years ago, you just use your own camera and you take photos. And then I sold it in a week, and I said, "This is like the easiest job in the world, and I'm just going to do this." Obviously, we found out that it's not the easiest job in the world, but I've been doing it ever since. So 16, almost 17 years now.
Interesting. And it hasn't always been in the Chicago area. Have you switched like different parts of Chicago throughout the 16 years or expanded, shrank at all?
Yeah, so we are it's like the Chicago and the Chicagoland area. So there are suburbs surrounding Chicago, a little bit different than other metropolitan cities where like in Manhattan you kind of have to go to Jersey or Long Island or other areas to get that suburb feel. In Chicago, you can just go as short as 15 minutes outside of the Chicago limits and you're in the suburbs. So we do the Chicagoland area, but we don't do like other states or anything like that.
Got it. And so tell us a little bit about the current market in Chicago. Like what are kind of the average price points and how does that relative to your average price points of who you typically deal with?
Sure. I think that the average price point in Chicago is probably anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000. The entry level in Chicago is very, very low. So we do have a fantastic first-time home buyer program, and it's great that the affordability is so awesome here, especially for a metropolitan city. My average price point is probably around 700,000, but we do service anywhere from 200,000 to, our highest price point was, I think, $3.5 million.
Okay, interesting. And so walk us through, like you've been in the business for 16 years. I think you may have, that may be one of the fastest starts you can possibly have.
Yes.
Right? In terms of, getting one to market and getting one to closing, which is very, very rare. But how did that first year go? Was it easier or harder than you thought it would be? I mean, you had the a really good head start, but then later on
that year, of course I did horribly my first year. Yeah. Of course, it went downhill from there. So, obviously months where I didn't have a deal. And honestly, there was no goal to be any type of top producer. That really didn't come until like 5 years in my career where I stay with this motto. I try to treat every deal like it's my own. And, it was like a snowball effect, clients. I am part of a sorority, Alpha Kappa Delta Phi. So any Kitty Phi's out there, hello, you'd be surprised. They're all over. Yeah. So they were my first clients and, kind of grew from there. And then they told their friends. And then, I ended up being the first realtor on Yelp when Yelp first came out. So and an article was written about me about that, and then I got a ton of reviews, and then it just kind of snowballed, and then all of a sudden, we sold $600 million of real estate now. So it was a very grassroots effort. So, and nowhere did I think it would be like this, but we love it. So
That's amazing. And so out of this, was that the 600 million
for my career.
for the
So
career?
we average around like I would say 30 to $40 million a year in
Wow.
real estate.
Is that, and what is your team makeup? I know it's you, it sounds like your brother as well.
Yes. Yeah. So it's my brother, my husband, my best
Ah,
friend. So a woman who's amazing and she's fantastic. I met in a mommy group. So it's a very organic. Eva, who's fantastic, we found through a service, but at the same time, she has become a really huge asset to our career, to our team, and she has done fantastic too. So it was very, I don't think our goal, I know there's people who think that, you have a big team and it's great to have a big team, but I think we all, at least my husband and I, and all of us on our team, feel that we just want to do a great job, and it's great to do it together versus separately. And hopefully the goal is that we all become more successful, kind of working together. So that's how we grew our team. It wasn't meant to, have the people that we do. It just happened that way over time and over the years.
that's pretty cool. It's also like a family business.
Yeah. Well, I owned my own with my brother for 7 years. I started getting into luxury, and I realized, I do think a brokerage is so helpful in many ways, but recognition is one of them. So I was over at a boutique broker. We closed our brokerage down, went to a boutique brokerage, was there for 5 years, got my average price from that 400,000 to $1 million. By the time I left, it was $1 million. And then now we're over at Compass. It has gone down mainly because we're closing, I think this year we're closing about 80 homes. So we're just trying to do more volume and, get that price point up.
Interesting. So walk us through what's been going on in the local market. I mean, if you can share kind of the history of the Chicago real estate market, right? Of maybe the last 12 years, and so far this year, which areas have done very well, and are there any areas that have not done well?
Okay. So the great thing about Chicago is, and a huge draw to Chicago is that there's really fantastic jobs. So lots of corporations are here. But in addition to, the schools are amazing. So we have University of Chicago, we have Northwestern, we have a ton of medical schools. So that has been a huge play, at least for our business, where people come here for med school, they decide to buy a condo, they end up getting a job here, and then law school too, but end up getting a job here, stay here, and then continue to grow within Chicago. So I mean, I'm actually helping someone, I think, from San Jose right now, and they were here for work too. So anyways, it's been the downtown market where you have any high rises, very similar to New York. Unfortunately, that has been taking a hit due to the pandemic. People don't want to be in a high rise where they have shared airspace or touching elevators or whatnot. But any other areas that are not in a high rise has been crazy. So we've seen, just like every other market, we've seen a surge of first-time home buyers, and honestly, people who have been homeowners and want to get a larger space. So I personally have 3 kids. I'm sitting in the landing of my house right now because I have nowhere else to go. So people who do have to work from home, which is everyone, they're looking for more space as well. And any area that has a very good school, even though a lot of us are in remote, we do want to have a great school system for our kids. But any area that has a really fantastic school is doing really fantastic, doing great right now.
Interesting. Got it. Okay. And walk us kind of through the geography of Chicago. Like, I know that downtown is kind of central to things.
Hmm.
Where are most of these companies headquartered relative to downtown? Are
Sure.
they downtown or are they like west, north, south?
Hmm.
And then,
They're out in the suburbs too, but they are a lot are downtown. And the great thing about Chicago is we do have public transportation. Our, you know what's so if you want to describe Chicago, it is like spread out without traffic. Well, not as much traffic as LA, but it is like a city of neighborhoods. So if you imagine New York, where you have Upper West Side, Upper East Side, you have Midtown, and all those things. The same thing is in Chicago, but a much smaller version. So you have Lincoln Park, Lakeview. Lakeview is where the Cubs play. You have all these other neighborhood areas, Pilsen, which is very artsy, Wicker Park, which is also very artsy. So you have all these like neighborhoods where it's very easy access to get downtown. So you could live downtown and it's super convenient, but if you want a little bit more space or you want that neighborhood feel, you can go outskirts of the downtown area. And then on top of that, if you do want a suburb where it's a little bit more affordable to get a single family house, you can go out to the suburban area. I actually live in the suburb. We do city and suburbs. I actually live in this town called Hinsdale, where the high school is nationally ranked. It's a really fantastic school system. And, it's really affordable. You can buy a single family house anywhere between 600. I mean, you could buy a house for like $7 million in Hinsdale, but it can be as low as 600,000. So you have a wide variety.
interesting. And so, given the last basically 8 months of the shelter, is there a particular like northern, western, southern parts of Chicago that have done better than others?
No, I mean North Shore is great too because you have easy access to the lake. But there's corporations and companies everywhere, and ultimately too, I don't know, maybe this is a Midwest thing, but people tend to move like within a 20-mile radius of where they grew up. So where your family's located plays a part. So all over Chicago, it's really it's been really busy. And yes, I think that a lot of people are shifting their mindsets of where they want to be. So you see a lot of relocation all over the nation, but because it's super affordable in Chicago, there are people who are moving here too. So
Got it. Cool. And then now I've always heard some stigmas of how dangerous Chicago is per se.
yes.
Um, how true is that? Or is it kind of fake media per se? And if so,
No.
is it concentrated like in specific areas just for people that are tourists to maybe avoid per se?
I mean, yeah. So with the pandemic, I'm sure everyone has read about and heard about the looting. There were two incidents of looting this within the last 12 months, or within the, I don't know, last 9 months. I think it's just we're very close to Minnesota, like where the reason why it all sparked, right? And I think also it's we're just going crazy, like it's pandemic situation it's just hard on everybody. So the looting did play a part in the market, especially in the downtown market. But before the pandemic, yeah, there is crime, but I just think you have to be street smarts anywhere in any city and metropolitan city that you're at. I would say it used to be very specific to certain areas, but I mean, I always tell my clients that, and myself included, that I wouldn't be walking around at 2 a.m. by myself. So, but I wouldn't be doing that in any city either.
Right. And so walk us through what it's like right now. I mean, you certainly have much more seasonality than we have here in the Bay Area, right? So
Yes.
I'm sure it's getting very cold out there.
Uh-huh.
But how does that typically affect the local market? Like, is there a lot less listings? Do people still browse? Like,
Mhm.
what's that like now? And um, let's say you had a buyer that was in the same neighborhood that you're looking at. What kind of price, like, what's the competition like these days of what you would share to them to expect?
So yeah, it is a little seasonal in terms of that the winter and the winter market is slower. So I think that sellers understand that and they tend to not put their properties on the market unless they're a little bit more desperate, I would say. It's a great opportunity for buyers to, maybe get a little bit of a discount compared to the spring and summer market, but then they have less activity or they have a lot less inventory to compare it to. So there's pros and cons to both, right? Um, you know, I've always been busy all year round, and I would say that it's very similarly to my top producer, my colleagues as well, is that we're busy all year round. We're just a little less busy like in the wintertime. Unfortunately, I've had to show in blizzard season, I have like a whole closet of winter clothes and long johns and like North Face jackets and snow boots. So, but it's only like a few days a year where it's like super bad, but otherwise, I guess maybe in Texas it's so hot sometimes you can't even go outside. For us, it's so cold sometimes we can't go outside. So it's the same thing. I feel like it's the same.
Got it. And what would those offer scenarios be like if it's that bad? Will they just kind of extend a deadline out? What's the common practice right now for you guys? Like, is it one weekend of showings basically, and then there's offers due, or is it reviewed as they come? What's kind of the standard
Oh,
process?
review as they come. I mean, the average market time is, I think, like 50 days.
Really?
So, yeah. So, unless it's priced super aggressively, but yeah, the average market time is around 50 days. It's not a short, um, we're again going back to just the Midwest where even when it's a seller's market, it's not super duper fast. Like you're going to get 20 offers in a weekend. Sometimes it does happen, but not. I wouldn't say it's for every property. No.
Interesting. And so what motivates, like, how do you position or help your clients to say, look, this is a good property, you should make an offer now, although the average is almost 2 months for it to be gone, right? So they can
Mm-hmm.
think, hey, look, there's something better around the corner. How do you kind of motivate that given it's so long relative?
Hmm. I guess I never really thought of it that way because to me, it's normal. So, but I think that if you, the longer you look, you can always find some more properties. It's just finding the right fit. And the thing about Chicago, we're a pretty old city and the suburbs are older too. So all the homes, I mean, it's not cookie cutter. They're not, especially on the single family home range. I mean, every house can be completely different in a suburb. So in certain suburbs. So, it's right finding the right floor. You may not get that floor plan again. So we're finding if that floor plan is the right fit. If it is a great deal to act fast on it. And of course, doing a valuation or doing a comparative market analysis will show that to the buyer. And again, I think, I don't think people want to continue to look for the rest of their lives. Like, on average, people want to look at 20 to 40 places and they feel like they are confident that that property is the right one after seeing all of those.
Interesting. Yeah. And when it comes to negotiation, I mean, compared to here, it's certainly a very long time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
here it's 3 weeks is considered stale.
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so in your case, if that's the average, or and they list it for whatever price they list it at, and let's say other houses have sold for around that in the last couple of months, how much lower is it customary to when it comes to like bidding, where it's on one end you want to help your clients, on another end you don't want to offend the other side, right? Or is it just slower, but then at the end of the day, it's going to be selling for still pretty close to what they listed it at?
Again, it goes back to just the market analysis. So not always will it be close to what it's listed at, but usually it will be what's a fair market value. So like something I have that just went under contract, it was on the market for 3 months actually. The last unit in the same tier sold for 405.
Mhm.
We were able to get 415. So it's not like
Oh, wow.
you're getting, I mean, he's paying market value. He's not getting a deep discount. I think people understand that we're going through like I mean, I don't know if anyone's following Chicago numbers, but unfortunately the COVID numbers are kind of high. So I think that there's some grace. I don't think people focus on the market time right now.
Oh, wow.
I think maybe in other markets, yeah, I totally see what you're saying, that yeah, 3 weeks, it could be longer. I feel like we're all stuck in this like pandemic. We don't remember what it felt like before the pandemic. But I think that, like, I mean, there was whole buildings that you couldn't even go in. Similar to New York, you couldn't even go see the unit even if you wanted to.
Right.
So we're not in that level right now, but with the spike in our numbers, there's a lot less people who are willing to go out. So I was supposed to show this week with some buyers, and they said, Amy, I just don't feel comfortable with going out right now, so let's just hold off on our search. So, of course, we're not going to push them, and we just want everyone to be safe and healthy. But I think that has currently played a part right now.
That's really interesting as well. Like, even though it's been on the market for X amount of time, it's still selling for what it would have sold for anyways. In a sense, there's no penalty for just sitting on the market, which is really interesting. And so, if you were working with a seller and that's the expectation that it may take a couple of months to sell, when do you have a discussion when you need to lower the price?
Again, doing analysis and doing evaluation is always really important. So, especially in certain neighborhoods like the Streeterville neighborhood, if you continue to see units that are heavily reducing theirs, you have to compete with them.
Right.
So this unit happened to be the only unit available in this tier. So there would be no discussion for me to, I would never suggest that they reduce their price. I actually have something in the West Loop where, it's been on the market for a little bit longer than we'd like. And I wouldn't ask them to reduce it because there would be no, I personally don't want to create, like reducing so much that everybody follows suit, and then now it's affecting the market. And I think, our colleagues feel the same way. So it's really just kind of plateaued at this time. But again, it goes to the season. We just had an election, and one of the craziest elections in history. So people were distracted with that. We have a pandemic, and historically this time is very, very slow. So, yes, sometimes we do have to tell our sellers, and even my listings right now, any new listings coming up, I'm actually not going to list them right now. I'm going to list them in January. So, because we have these things that we know always play a part, which is that it's a little bit slower during this time and during the holiday season, to try to decrease that market time. We try to push it as close to the spring market as possible.
Interesting. And is the average days on market in spring significantly less than it is now? Or is it still
yeah, I don't know the exact days, maybe 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's less. So things are definitely moving. But I would say that it's just not robust like maybe LA or the Bay Area. So but things are still moving.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear, especially not being as much of an impact. My last question related to this is, do you feel bad if you had a buyer and it's been on the market for 2 months to go in at substantially below market, or like, is that a common strategy for most people, or is it even a strategy at all, where you say, look, it's been on the market for 2 months or whatever it is, let's go in at 10% below what the fair market value is? Or would just get it ignored? Like, would there be negotiations that start, or just be like, we're just gonna hold on to this?
I guess I don't make it a factor in my negotiation. I guess my goal is, let's say something is listed for, 700,000 and all the comps say 680 is the market value. I'm always going to try to get like 670 or 675 for the client, or I mean, I said 800, but whatever. You get, we're always going to try to do less than what market value is. So, but the thing is, I don't know, all places, a lot of places tend to be occupied. So, and unless there's some type of relocation, if the seller is not super motivated to sell, then they'll just continue to stay in their property.
Oh, I see. These are
So
not
then
vacant homes then.
I'm sorry?
These are not vacant homes then.
Not all are vacant homes. I would say, I don't know what the percentage is, but for me right now, currently, probably 30% are vacant. So so a lot are occupied. So, they're willing to wait. So that's why, maybe that's why we don't see a super duper major decrease in the price versus closed price, because, it's not like they're paying 2 mortgages. Is it like that there? People move out vacant?
I mean, you ideally, if possible, you'd absolutely have it vacant, right? You have it vacant,
Oh,
cleaned, you have it staged, and that way it'll sell in 1 week. The average, in a sense, is 1 week. So it's incentivized
no.
to do it, right? Obviously, if you know, like, hey, look, even if you did this and it's not going to sell in 1 week, then obviously now you have the extra cost of, much longer term rentals. So I think it's kind of one of those things, like, if you have to, on one end, you have to be confident that it does it, that, if you actually staged it and had it a certain way, it would not just get you the top dollar, but also make it faster. On the other end, the sellers also need to know, like, that's a legitimate strategy, right? If they knew it's going to still take 2 months, they may not be willing to go with that approach.
Yeah.
It's like a loop, a feedback loop almost.
Well, so there you probably don't have home sale, home close contingencies, whereas here,
No.
moving from the city to the suburbs, in the suburbs, it's very common to have a home sale or home close contingency.
Right.
So yeah, it makes Chicago real estate very difficult.
Yeah, no, I can tell it's just a lot slower, and there's a lot just more things that can go wrong. Especially if you're trying to wait on it. I mean, you think about it, right? Like you just mentioned, you're waiting on a for sale contingency, but it takes months to sell it too. So the other contingency is a really long contingency.
Yeah. And then, you guys, the seller pays for the inspection and then you all disclose it, right, beforehand. Yes. Here, we have executed contract and the buyer's responsible for the inspection. And then during attorney time, the buyer has the right to cancel the deal during attorney review period. So it's not even, yes, it's just everything's a little bit
it's just more
longer.
Yeah, it's just longer and there's more pieces involved, it seems like.
Yes. And that's why we try to have, I mean, I don't know, I have anywhere between 40, probably around 40 buyers at a time, because you have to kind of have that to be able to have, a certain pipeline going.
Right. Very good. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, it's very good. Very interesting to hear the differences. So thank you so much, Amy, for sharing the insights, how you got into the business and how well you guys are doing right now. If anyone was an investor or wanted to move possibly to Chicago, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. So you could go to our website, Duong Kim Global, DUONG KIM Global.com. We speak 6 different languages, and again, cap rates in Chicago are like 6%, which is awesome. And then, or you can email me at amy.duongkim@compass.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Amy. Everyone else, thank you for tuning into another episode. If you have any questions for myself or for Amy, please do reach out anytime. I'll see you at the next one.
Okay, thank you. It was fun. Bye.
Thanks for making it to the very end of my YouTube video. If you like the content, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that little bell as well, since it'll give you notifications of when my next episode is. If you know of anyone that is considering to buy or sell a home here in the Bay Area, I'm never too busy to help more people. Always welcome to have a conversation, regardless if you're ready to go right now or if you wanted to buy 5 years later. Click on that calendar link and then you'll be able to book an appointment with me and love to have a conversation about your situation. In the meantime, I also do have a monthly newsletter, so feel free to hit that link below and then you'll be able to get my updates, personal updates that I write once a month in terms of what is going on with the market and some of my latest activities. Hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.